Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you. Happy Monday.
Yeah. Uh, it's
What are you
Monday.
doing? What are you up to?
Quicker.
Anything fun over there?
No. Um, just last couple weekends I've been traveling, so this one is kind of catching up, trying to at least. Yeah. How about you?
Nice. I've been very busy with registry related stuff, losing my mind a bit with something. We'll
Yeah.
be fine though. Hard work. That's what we sign up for.
Yeah.
So we have quite some people. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, hello.
Where are you joining from, by the way?
I'm joining from India. It is midnight now.
I'm also from India.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I guess the time zone makes it a bit tricky, right? I think
Yeah,
you're on the other side, Jason. Makes
Yeah.
it quite tricky.
Yeah. I know. I'm just about 12 hours different from India. So
Which is quite a lot.
yeah.
You've never been to India, right, Jason, with Postman?
No. No. Never got to.
Hello, Lisa.
Hi, Lisa. I've been meaning to message you, Lisa, to apologize for not being able to get to reviewing that your draft so far. I've just been so busy with mostly Google Summer of Code stuff.
Yeah, understandable. All of the IETF people are currently busy in China with a meeting I was not able to go to. So everyone's
Nice.
distracted this week.
I wish I was busy in China. That would have been a pretty fun week.
Yeah. The next one's in Vienna, and I'm already booking for that.
Very, very nice. We should have more JSON Schema conferences. That will make it very interesting.
Yeah.
Who pays for this trip? Is it all like self-funded from the IETF people or the respective companies? How does it work in general?
IETF is a personal participation organization, and yet, of course, most people are funded by their companies to pay the travel, the hotel, and their conference attendance fee. There's a significant number of people who get their fees waived because they're doing it in the public interest or have some other, or doing it out of personal interest, and they have, you know, nobody covering it for them. So there's a well-oiled fee waiver program. And of course, the fees for attending remotely are just a couple $100. So, and then of course, all the mailing list stuff is free and nobody has to cover that. That's
Sure.
covered by grants and donations and ISOC.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'll start today on just give update on what I've been working on, and it's mostly been trying to keep up with Google Summer of Code stuff. Lots of people wanting to contribute to various places, including the test suite and lots of my projects as well. The JSON Schema errors project is getting a lot of attention, and there's still some big questions that I think we have to work out before it's ready to be released, but it's we've gotten a long ways on it. So that's kind of cool because it's a project that started at last year's Google Summer of Code and kind of has been neglected since. So it's good to see that coming along. And lots of other, you know, small things and other projects as well. That's all I've been able to do lately.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I think I'm on my side. I think it has been like really heads down again on you know, source meta 1, the registry that I'm building. So there is a lot. It's like taking off, you know, slowly. I think that's very nice. We have, you know, quite some fun institutions actually running that in production and hammering it a lot more than I wish they would. But I think it's in a really good way. I think it's managing collections of thousands of JSON schemas and interconnections between them and pulling it off as like an infra base for like more governance on top of that. That's very fascinating and hard problem, it turns out. So yeah, no shortage of, you know, great things to do there. But yeah, GSOC has been a thing as well. I mean, I've seen that, for example, mainly with I think you, Jason, as well, right? With the PRs around the test suite and people trying to hammer, you know, down a lot of the formats related stuff. And I think, you know, that was quite nice. Because, you know, we have GSOC and there is like a lot of people coming in and trying to contribute all at you know, at sudden at the same time, which definitely stress test a bit the org, right? And reviewing. But I think it has been fun. I've seen some people opening quite some fun things and even reporting, for example, some formats that I got it wrong on at the URI level, for example, in my implementation and stuff like that. So I've been also already sending some PRs and fixing some stuff that people reported earlier. So that's nice.
Yeah, there's been some good stuff, but also a lot of junk to sift through to get to it. But yeah, I think the big challenge is how do we find the good stuff and not spend all of Jason's time reviewing all the bad stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to do about that.
I mean, maybe unpopular thing though, but for example, I mean, taking AI into the mix, right? For example, what I've been doing, I use 2 products for code reviewing my own stuff, right? And it actually, I mean, it helps. It's not perfect for sure. I mean, you get the usual AI stuff, but it does. I do find it that it helps me just catch the easy stuff, pretty easy, either things that I myself made and I send a PR, and the AI reviewers will pick one. It's like, oh, of course, right? That was like very stupid. And at the same time, when contributors would come into my projects, it already pinpoints again like the obvious things, which at least catch some time. I think it might be worth taking a look.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that. Like I'm wary of the argument that the solution to AI slop is more AI.
Sure.
But because I think that the problem isn't really the AI, it's the people who are, like the AI will like say, will flag something, hey, this might be an issue, and then the person doesn't do the do the work to verify that that's really an issue, and
Sure.
and just sends it out. So I don't feel like it's the AI, it's an AI problem, it's a people problem. And it's harder to automate out, people problems than, so
Yeah. But it does help with the obvious stuff, right? I would say that at least, I do feel that it removed a lot of the burden, for example, for me, either again for myself and the obvious mistakes that I would do as any other human being, right? But also some contributions. So I think, that's what I was saying, maybe a bit controversial, but yeah, I do think it helps me out with at least forgetting about the obvious things, right? Because a lot of the PRs people make, I mean, they might have like the same extremely basic stuff, right? It takes that off at the very least, in my experience.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe it's worth trying, but yeah, I feel like even if the AI reviewer finds something wrong, like, don't I still have to review the AI review? Does it really take work off my plate?
Sure. Yeah, worth quantifying at the very least, right?
Yeah.
I think it depends on the project as well, probably. But yeah. At least I had success with things like, the JSON Schema CLI, stuff like that, that they had. There is usually the wave of contributors coming in and trying to do something.
Yeah.
It does help.
Yeah, maybe it's worth trying at some point. Maybe like one thing like I'm sure of is like we have to figure out some better way to handle this next year. If we're gonna do Google Summer of Code again, like this, it can't be like this. Like this is too much. I mean, even if that's like, more people need to be actively like reviewing these things and going over it. So I mean, because I feel like most of the time it feels like it's just me. And I know it's not entirely, but a lot of it's me, and we just need more people, dedicated to doing that stuff.
Yeah, that is fair. And it takes a lot of time, right? And I think that's a main thing, because, for example, everybody even working on JSON Schema, they are working, for example, on their own projects, right? And that makes it really hard. Like, for example, even for me, right, as I'm trying to maintain all of these little things, like I'm barely keeping up with that, right? Let alone, trying to review, other stuff, or maybe even other projects in the ecosystem. It becomes a lot, and I think that might be just an indication that we have too few people, I guess, working in this kind of stuff. Whereas, if we try to push like a very small group of people that are more active in the project, try to review more, it just doesn't scale, right?
Yeah, we definitely need more people, involved.
And I think, one of the things that I remember, though, that we discussed, at some point, and it might be worth revisiting, was what exactly needs reviewed, right? Because I think one argument that we made ages ago was that the JSON Schema org, and for example, the projects that I guess we are de facto maintaining at the moment. A lot of them were created based on the fact that we did have a lot more time and bandwidth given the Postman stuff, right? So we kind of upscaled a lot of things in the org when we actually had the capacity, but we never actually did the exercise of downscaling that properly. I think a lot of things are there that need maintenance that maybe we shouldn't actually be maintaining anymore, or at least be pushing aside, more to, for example, being satellite community projects, right? And I think that kind of evens out everything. I think, what's currently at least on the main org, it might be a lot more than it needs to be, right? Even taking into account, the website, and I think we've discussed some of the problems of maintaining the website and maybe some of the other projects. And I think we might need to actually do that proper at some point, right? Maybe actually book some time and try to downscale it and see how much that decreases the load in practice, or at least saying, hey, maybe this project that was part of the org, we don't really have any bandwidth to maintain it. Therefore, it's a community one. If anybody wants to take it forward and maintain it yourself, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, not really, right?
Yeah, 100% agree. There's a lot of stuff that is not getting the attention that it should have.
Might I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
From what I understand right now, you seem like you want more people to like join in and maintain stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What would I, for example, need to do to do that? Like, what qualifications would I need, or who do I talk to, or what do I do?
Well, I think with with all of us, we just showed up and started contributing, and participated in discussions, and and before long the group says like, hey, we trust this guy, and and you start getting more permissions and more responsibility. Yeah, there's no formal method, except for, and there's the only requirement is experience, and so that's the thing I'd say that that you're lacking at this point is a lot of experience. But I know you're writing a JSON schema implementation, which is a really big step to get that experience.
Okay, thank you.
And I think, I would add to that, like, for example, even with my own experience, like getting into the org, right? Which again, I think, Ahmed, you might not realize a JSON schema. It's like it has been around for a huge amount, very long amount of time, right? It precedes everybody in this call, right? So even us, that we are here, we have been actually not very long ago, we have been newcomers, right? We don't have anybody in the org at the moment that has been since the beginning. These like spanning decades, quite literally, which I think is very interesting if you think about it. But for example, when I like drawing from my own experience, when I started contributing to JSON schema, I think, you often, it might not be very easy to see where can you actually grab at least, the one side of the rope to actually start pulling on something, right? And actually getting involved. I think that's a bit hard, and I think we can probably at least clarify that, and maybe that comes back, to what we're just saying right now. Like, if we can identify things that the org has that we don't actually have the capacity to maintain, and we think it would be very interesting to have it as a community run thing, right? And at least more publicly saying, hey, if you do want to help on something, this is something that it's pre-qualified to be important to us, and that we don't have the time to do it, right? It might at least give some people the room to explore, right? But again, I think it's more like what Jason said, is if there is something that the org needs, and like nobody's doing it, and you might as well show up and actually start doing it, and doing it well. That's it, right? I think that's how we all got involved in a way.
But like, how do I know that something needs someone? Like, I don't really.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
really know.
And I think that's a tricky one. That's what I think we should define to let other people, to let other people know. But for example, even think, for example, I don't know, Ahmed, if you have seen some of my projects and in JSON schema space, But it was more like, yeah, I mean, me trying to use JSON schema and getting frustrated by what I couldn't use myself, and then just scratching my own itch and building those, like, learnjsonschema.com or the JSON schema CLI that I maintain, or for example, now a registry solution. It has been even more like selfish focused in a way, right? If you might call it like that. It was me coming in, hey, I want to use JSON schema, I want to accomplish goal X, and then facing walls. It's like, why am I facing these walls? I might just as well go fix them, right? And that is snowballed.
Yeah, a healthy amount of selfishness wouldn't hurt anyone, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and most of us running this project are, tooling maintainers of some kind. So that's like the biggest and best way to develop the expertise and the relationship with the community to get more involved. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you ever need someone, I'm available, and I'm trying my best to improve. So yeah.
Sounds
Cool.
good.
But I
Keep
think, I mean, we should get serious and try to do the downscaling exercise, I think, for once and for all, right? I mean, independently of the contributors, right? But like, just knowing what's out there and what are we actually saying no to at the moment. I think that might be beneficial and might actually also decrease your load, Jason, right? Or your field that a lot of people are not, reviewing.
Mhm. Yeah, that might be one thing is, like it's not common for a lot of stuff coming through the test repo, but that's a really good way to help and to get involved, is just to review those PRs that are coming in. Check them against the specs, what related specs they apply to, and it helps you, like, do a really deep dive into how things are supposed to work, and it really helps me out, and anybody else who's reviewing those.
Yeah.
But I don't think I wait. From what I believe, I don't have the authority to do something like that, right?
Well, there is no authority, right? I mean, as any open source project, this is fully decentralized. Like, as Jason was saying, it's more than any authority, is that have we seen your face enough into all of these things so we can by de facto trust you, and therefore you have shared authority with everybody else that is de facto trusted between each other.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm not a maintainer. I'm just like a semi-random person, like, would you trust a semi-random person's review as another random person's pure?
Well, if you raise a good point, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we're all semi-random people in a way, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to merge a PR just solely on on your review, like, but your review helps me review faster, for example,
Okay.
right? Yeah, that's the kind of thing. Or if it helps, if they go through some iterations with you because you found some issues, then I don't have to go through as many iterations with them. Once they're through with you.
Okay, sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Remind me, you were talking about the test suite, right? Like the JSON schema test suite.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I think, I mean, the reason maybe worth discussing the test suite, because I think it's pretty, I think it has some good opportunities for involvement, I think, in many different ways at the same time, right? Because the first one is that it forces you to learn JSON schema properly. Like, for example, if you, Ahmed, you're writing an implementation and you are targeting the JSON schema to a test suite, just the act of studying the test suite will actually teach you a lot about JSON schema already, right? A lot more, or more subtleties that you might be able to get from the spec out of the first rounds of reads that you might actually, like, do to that. At the same time, it is quite well scoped, right? I think in a way, I mean, leaving aside maybe the annotation test suite or some of the other stuff that we might add in, I think it's very simple to understand, right? You have a schema, instances, is this actually valid or not, right?
Oh.
I think it is easy to understand. And at the same time, because we are using the JSON schema test suite to power all of the most of the well-known implementations of JSON schema, and then the compliance ranking that we have on Bowtie, if you actually increase, the thoroughness of the test suite, you actually have a very direct impact on the entire ecosystem, right? So, so I think it has many factors on it that make it very interesting at the same time.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
compliance is a big thing, by the way. Like, for example, if you even for example with the Google Summer of Code project that we have now with the strengthening the formats, right? If you manage to find very interesting test cases that were missing from the test suite, and you can actually show proof that with those test suites you can actually break many of the popular or semi-popular implementations out there, that's gold. That's really useful.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think that I don't know what you think, Jason, but maybe another big area, it's the website, right? I think that's one that is usually neglected, right, in some way.
Yeah, it's yeah, the website's a big issue. We've got a few people that are maintaining it, but they're all have very limited time, and just do the best they can. And especially right now with like a dozen issues coming in every day, like they can't keep up with it. But yeah, I mean, and if somebody is really wants to take ownership of the website, that would be huge. Because and I don't just mean like maintaining it, but like actually take responsibility for improving it, and figuring out what issues it has, how it can be simplified to be easier maintained or whatever, any of that stuff. Like, that's something that I feel like the community really needs.
And I will put the emphasis, I think, on what you said, because I think it's not even maintaining the website, because you said improving, right? And I think a lot of people, when they hear improving, it means, just like add more stuff to the website, right? Whereas actually what we're thinking about, it's like, how do we do less, like, right? Like the website is too complicated for the kind of project that we're doing and the capacity that we have to maintain it. How can we transmit the necessary information doing less, right, while making it so so simple to maintain that usually we don't have to think about it, right? It's like how to simplify. I think it's a lot of the maybe the common thing that you might hear. It's not actually doing more, it's actually trying to do more with less.
Yeah, and that goes for the content as well. Like, I mean, is there stuff that is on the site that is not helpful, or is just too much, or something needs to go into deeper detail, like any of that stuff. Like, I mean, I think I think our documentation is not very good right now. And if we could go through it and find out like what can we do to improve, that's a huge thing. But that's something that takes an expert in JSON schema to do, right? Because I know that's one of those things, is that people suggest that newcomers contribute to documentation, but I think that's a terrible idea, because I mean, if you're a newcomer, you're probably not going to have the expertise necessary to to document the how something works. So
Yeah.
but I think all that stuff. Yeah, Juan's right. It's more about simplifying than adding.
Well, I mean, and maybe let's take it one step further, right? Because so what we usually tell people, and again, it's not very obvious at first glance, is that the JSON schema org, the official one on GitHub, it has only a few projects in the ecosystem, right? And that's by design. For example, we don't host any implementation on the JSON schema org on GitHub, right? It's mainly supposed to hold the spec and the website. And maybe, that's even a very strict way of saying maybe we should actually get rid of everything except the spec and the website on the main org, just like trim it down and make it super simple. I think that would be very interesting, at least from my point of view. But that is by design. And then everything else that powers JSON schema as a language, either from tooling, implementation, I don't know, whatever you call it, anything else on the ecosystem, it's all like a little galaxy of its own, and it's mostly community driven, right? And you might see that a lot with for example, the TSC people on JSON schema. A lot of us, like for example, like myself, I don't work on the spec at all, but I'm maintaining a lot of tooling in the ecosystem, right? From many different points of view. And I think you see that. So I think if you take a look at that, you might see that actually maybe, well, I don't know what number to say, but maybe let's say that 20 or 50% of the work happens on the spec, right? Or for example, the website, and the rest of the work, which is equally valuable, it happens outside the org. And you might not very easily see it unless you know which other org to actually go look at, which might then have its own rules, right? Or its own convention. So it's a bit of a, yeah, like a bazaar kind of thing. So you can, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you can contribute to a lot more things than just a spec or the website, right? And it really depends on what you happen to be interested in.
I think there used to be a lot more discussion going on, like questions being asked in Slack and Stack Overflow, and now people don't ask people questions anymore; they ask AI. So we don't see a lot of that. We don't see as much of that anymore. Stack Overflow is basically dead. That's where I got involved. That was the first place I got involved with the community, is by answering a bunch of questions in Stack Overflow. And so, unfortunately, that avenue is probably not as broad as it used to be.
Yeah, well, but that might be a good thing, right? I would argue, because again, I remember that this was like answering question was like a huge load to the org and to a lot of the maintainers, and then it kind of shifted, right? And that can be either good or bad, and maybe that's a strategy that we should be thinking about, because either the AI is now answering questions based on totally incorrect knowledge of JSON schema, or usually it tells you the right thing, right? And that's us actually providing content. I found that it's a stress test for all these things. Like, for example, I do receive a massive amount of traffic by LLMs on learnjsonschema.com, right? And if ideally learnjsonschema.com has like a good amount of content and examples and maybe very clear things about what to do. And actually even now, I think if you go and ask ChatGPT, where do I learn JSON schema? It tends to suggest learnjsonschema.com. I try to experiment every now and then. But I think if we manage to rank these reputable sites good enough, then we are indirectly answering hopefully a lot of questions, which is not a bad move. I think it might be a very good outcome from an open source ecosystem point of view, right?
May I add my insight into like learning JSON schema and stuff?
Yeah, sure.
Well, I've just recently I've been really putting effort into learning these things, like going through the spec entirely and the 2020 spec and stuff. Okay, so I've had like a lot of iterations learning JSON schema. Okay, so I tend to I feel like the idea of the like people not asking people anymore and relying on AI. I feel like this is actually a great thing. Okay, like from what I understand, Jason is really like he like you're saying that it takes a lot of time and effort to just go through all of the PRs and stuff. Like now, imagine all of the questions that you would also have to answer. Like eh, I feel like it's a huge load that AI saves you. You know, and from personal experience, AI is like amazing for 90% of the questions, but like a few things, no, like it needs human interactions. You know, like some things are not clear in the specification. For example, some things I don't trust the AI to answer me, and for those things, yeah, I do go to Slack and I ask questions. You know, but for the majority of things, no, like it's not necessary. You know, just ask an AI. And as I've stated before, like I've said it before, but like something like Notebook LM is amazing because it doesn't hallucinate as much as the normal LMs, you know, because its answers are based on the sources that you give it. And also, like, something that I really want to point out is that AI sometimes gives you insights that you wouldn't really see normally, you know, like recently I've noticed that a lot of implementations for something like for JSON pointers don't really like the JSON pointer specification, the RFC 6901. It clearly states that a tilde should only be followed by a 0 or 1. You can't have a tilde unless it's followed by 0 or 1. Okay. A lot of implementations don't do that, and I like the reason I noticed something like that was from AI. It stated that, so I went to the specification and I noticed that, yeah, that is the case. But like, I wouldn't have noticed that if it wasn't for AI, you know.
Yeah,
So,
and I think maybe that's what, you know, like for example, for many of you that are like it's like new to the ecosystem, I think that's where a lot of your fresh eyes can help spot a lot of the things that we miss because we have been too deep into the rabbit hole for a long time that now we don't see a lot of the obvious stuff anymore, right?
yeah.
And for example, if you go, like I drop a link, I don't know if you've seen learnjsonschema.com, but that's a site that I maintain, and I try to annotate that all with, you know, common pitfalls or best practices and a lot of stuff, right? And for example, for that remaining 10% that you said, right, that the LLM might not actually know, and you have to go reaching a human, what would those be, and can we actually add them to the site, right? Because if I'm already receiving a crazy amount of traffic from LLMs, then maybe we answer that question tenfold by actually having it there in some way.
Yeah. So the problem that with having AI answering all the questions is that we lose a lot of visibility into what kinds of things people are having trouble with. Like, for example, the reason prefix items came to be, why it got split off from the items keyword, is because we're seeing lots of people on Stack Overflow and asking questions in Slack and confusing how items validation works. And so we were able to say, like, oh, we're seeing this you know, this pain point in the community, and we were able to respond to that. But if we don't get those questions, if we don't see what people are struggling on, then we don't know that those are issues, and it's harder to deal with. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it is nice to have less you know, problem or less questions that we have to answer all the time, especially when they're the same questions over and over again. But it also, we don't have the visibility.
I understand what you're saying, and like to an extent I do agree, but like I feel like it's not as much of a problem as it was back then. Like when like the prefix items to items, like this was done like 6 or 7 years ago, I think, or like when did this change happen?
Yeah, about 6 years ago or so.
From what I'm assuming this was before the tool website was made and like all of the documentations were written. Like this was, I feel like this was a time when resources were not as available as right now. Would that be correct?
I don't think that's true. In fact, I kind of think our documentation was better before than it is now. But yeah, that stuff was well documented. It was a matter of people not reading the documentation.
Oh, well, maybe they should read the documentation.
Yeah.
Well, nobody has solved that problem ever in
Right.
the industry. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello.
Well, yeah.
Hello,
Hello.
hello. Yeah.
I think I would like to add a point where we actually got to where, normally we people used to have, stress of understanding a lot of things before AI, but I think the stress is still there. People like trying to understand. For example, I normally prefer to open documentation and go through it, but the point is about accessibility. So basically, whenever I go through a doc, I, normally do not understand a lot of things. So I just want AI to just remove that abstraction and make me understand some part of the thing. But again, AI takes something and use me out of the out of context that it actually understands and it actually assumes that I have the prior knowledge of it. So again, I need to go to another LLM and again tell it to yeah, this is the thing. So can you just make simple for me? So again, I would prefer a person rather than AI because again, I'm struggling to understand one point to make it simple for me again. But the point here is going to AI because it is more accessible and uh, the time that it takes to answer rather than going to a person.
Yeah, to bring this topic, I think, to a relevant issue is that one of the things that we've been working on is how do we evolve the spec while not having to introduce any breaking changes and disruptive things like that. And so one of the things that we want to do is for new features, we expect people to be implementing them and for or implementers to be implementing them and users to be using those features. And once those are established and vetted, then they get officially put into the spec, which is the same way that JavaScript works. All the browsers and other vendors implement a thing, and then only when everybody supports it, then that feature is officially part of the spec. But the issue we have is how do we determine that it's being used? We can determine if it's being implemented. We can check implementations and see if it's been implemented. But just because it's implemented doesn't mean that people have used it. And so and that was one of the things that we kind of relied on. Community feedback. People show up and say like, "Hey, I'm using this new feature and I'm not quite sure how it works, or what's what's supposed to happen when I do this," and so like those are all indications that people are using this feature. It's ready to be called stable and put in the spec, but we don't get that kind of feedback anymore. So I mean, so is there even a way to measure whether people are using it, or do we just have to rely on just who implemented it? Like, is it a feature that's been implemented?
I think, to make the problem worse, I think is that because, you would think that the natural answer to that it's, oh, go look at open source schemas that people do as a proxy to understand what they actually are doing. And I've done, I published some research around JSON schema at some point, and I do a lot of work with JSON schema at the moment with other companies. And I think the hard realization that I had is that what you see in the open source is actually not representative at all, right? You see one tip of the iceberg that it's very different from what's actually happening as JSON schema use within most real companies, right? And the problems and the level of sophistication or the conclusions that you might draw on those are totally opposite, right? Like, for example, the classic, mistake, and I'm saying because I think I made that mistake myself on some of my research, I base a lot of my thinking based on, for example, schema store, right? And I think that's a classic thing that everybody knows about and goes, oh, just scan what people do on schema store. And we have seen, I think, even if you remember, Jason, a couple of researchers showing up at some point and doing even publications on JSON schema and drawing conclusions about the common mistakes that people do on JSON schemas or what keywords are actually used or not at globally based on schema store. And I would say that schema store is like 1% of the representativeness of all of it, and all of the conclusions that you're drawing are completely off, right? But then on the other hand, even if you see the rest, all of it is going behind closed doors of companies, all in proprietary JSON schema use, so you cannot really see it, which I think it's yeah, it adds to the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
so
we
I'm not
have-
sure how to solve it though.
Yeah. Do we have any other topics that people want to bring up?
Are you guys preparing for GSOC, by the way? Some of the people attending the call?
Yep.
Any questions around that from anybody? Is it all looking cool?
Maybe I have like, yeah, I have a question. From what I understand, in our proposal, we need to like specify how exactly we intend on fixing the issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the issues, like I don't know how, like the LSP project, for example, like I'm going to implement an LSP, like how exactly do I specify, like, what is there to specify here, you know, like.
Well, the point is to replace the existing one.
Yeah.
That that's built into VS Code, right? So so a big important step is going to be analyzing the capabilities of that existing language server and identifying all of the features that we need to replicate in the new system.
Yeah. I mean, like, what do I write in my proposal? Like, first, I'm going to look at the features. Second, I'm going to implement those features, and then, like, you know what I mean? Like, my problem is just with what do I write in the proposal in this specific aspect, you know, or section.
I mean, like, I think your intuition is correct. Like, if it sounds trivial, it probably is. Like the things that, yeah, I mean, the things that I want to see is that you analyze the problem sufficiently. Like, did you look at all of the features? Did you identify which ones are going to be easy, which ones are going to be hard? Do you have a plan for how you're going to attack the hard things? Is there, is there something that you don't know how we're going to solve, or you think might not be solvable? What about, have you thought about performance? Like, how are you gonna make it reasonably performant? Because we are writing it in TypeScript and not like Rust or something.
Or maybe, I mean,
Okay.
what I would add to that, I think is because I think, I mean, and I've seen this on also like previous GSOC instances on some of the project applications. A lot of people, I think they see the proposal as like, this is the plan that I completely figured out, and you read it and you accept it. And if you accept it, I just go and implement it, like more of like a statement of work, kind of stuff, right? And that's not the intention, right? Because I mean, the whole point is that we the mentor will actually work with you, and I mean, you work with them, and it's like a doing it together kind of thing, right? And the only real purpose of the proposal is so that we know when reading your proposal and others that among the other people that have apply to this project, you are probably the one that has the highest chance of succeeding as far as we can tell, right?
Yeah.
And then so the plan might be completely different, right? And what, but again, like I guess seconding what Jason is saying is like, by reading the proposal, do you seem to have better chances of success at this project than everybody else? Have you make a point on that? And that can be either because you thought it through, you raised some interesting point that we didn't think about, or maybe you did some research comparing to some, like it's very I guess like open in that point of view. Like how are you gonna convince us that you are the best for this specific attempt?
Okay, so it's less of what am I going to do and more so like like showing you that I've done my research, done my homework.
Showing us that you know what you're talking about, right? And if we select you, you will have the higher chances of success than the others, right? And how
Okay.
you prove that, I think it comes back at there are a million ways of proving that, so you can get very creative as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, show that you understand the problem better than everybody else.
Yeah, and not and that's the thing. I mean, because it's also working with a mentor, because it's not like the mentor will necessarily fully understand the problem either, right? For a lot of these things, it's more like the fun discovery process. So the mentor might not actually know all of the answers anyway, but it's like, by reading your proposal, will they think, well, I mean, this is certainly a guy that would love to spend some months, collaborating on this, and hopefully we get somewhere.
Like I really enjoy these codes. Like they really they show you guys are actually like human and stuff. Like
You don't know
a
if
lot
you are human, right? We might as well be LLMs as well. This is all video generated, so.
I don't think LLMs have reached that level yet. But like in general, like when I think of the mentors, I feel like, oh my God, like just much better than everyone else and just incredibly high level and stuff like. And then I come to a call and it's like, yeah, I use AI to like see my stupid mistakes and stuff like, yo,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? And I think you raise a good point, right? But I think that's a bias on everything. I think any system that you look into, as an outsider, you would think that it's all properly made and everything is perfect and people are amazing. And then you look under the hoods and it's not. I think it's all humans all the way.
Yeah.
I think that applies in every context, I think.
Yeah.
We're stumbling through this stuff just like everybody. We just have more experience.
We just have been stumbling on it for longer. I think that's the only thing. But we're also approachable, right? I mean, I think even if you guys, I mean, not only in this call, but feel free always to reach out, right? I think where people always try to help, and we're working on this stuff usually because we like it, right? I mean, that's the whole point, and we find it interesting, and we use it ourselves. And we're, I think, more than happy to just help people out, and it doesn't need to be on these calls, or it's not that we're like super formal and very unapproachable. I think just talk to us like any friend, right? We're
I
gonna
can
help you
totally
out.
fetch for that. Like I can totally fetch for that. Like you guys are incredibly approachable, and you've always been like it's always been easy to talk to you guys, whether it's on Slack or here or whatever.
And that's the image that we want, right? I mean, as a community, as an open source project, I think if we manage, because I think, I mean, you've seen that now when you are talking to us in this call, but it's the same thing over and over again. Any newcomer thinks that that's not the case. And we have to actively disprove it. For example, either on the conferences or in the calls or in like PR reviews or whatever, right? I think it would be interesting to have how do we flip the equation, right? Maybe you, Lisa, a lot more in the IETF, but have experiences on that, right? It's like how do you always seem approachable, right? So that people
I
can
wouldn't
actually
call
be more.
the IETF generally approachable.
Yeah, well, we all have the same problem then.
Yeah, it's hard. In groups are a thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
All right. Any other topics that we want to cover? I mean, lately it's all everything's been about Google Summer of Code. So if you got Google Summer of Code questions, that's
I think I'm not having any GSA question, but why are we using Slack? It is actually, making it seem like it is more formal.
What would you use though?
Discord is a better way.
Yeah, I mean it's the same platform, right? In a way, it gives you the same thing. Maybe it's a perception, but I think even migrating Slack to Discord would be so hard. I think for everybody to pull to the other one, that I think it would be way too hard.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Personally, I never
Honest-
used Slack. The first time I'm using Slack is in GSOC, while I'm actually only a member of JSON Schema. So it might be the same for other people who are actually using Slack too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny. I think it kind of depends on what circles you're in. Like I'm in like 5 or 6 different Slack channels, and I don't have Discord at all. And so, Slack makes a lot of sense for me, and I would be annoyed if I have to, create another or manage another messaging app just for one thing. But I've also heard other people say the opposite thing. Everything they're in is in Discord, and they're annoyed if they have to sign into Slack. So
It's real annoyance though. The fact that there are many, it's so annoying. Even like
Yeah.
I use both because of like work and stuff. You wish it was like one, or they would interconnect and they would be
Right.
like dumb clients. So it's just like, so annoying.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Um,
at this point, that was the way it set up. It was set up. Neither of us were involved in that decision. It was just done, but that's the way it is. And I don't think moving anything is in our best interest.
Honestly, I prefer being on Slack. Like, I don't want to send a message as the destroyer of mankind, it just makes it like, no, I prefer being separate.
Cool stuff. Well, yeah, I think, I mean, even if I guess as a closing note in a way, I think you all might not realize, again, like I think the benefit of the fresh eyes that you have on the org coming in from the first time and how valuable that actually is, right? So anything that you see and either complain about it or like raise it up with us. I mean, again, like I work a lot with tooling. So I'm always extremely interested to hear any complaint that you have on tooling whatsoever, right? I want to hear it. It doesn't matter how silly you might think you is, right? But just like be loud, right? I want to hear that kind of stuff from like fresh eyes. But at the same time, when you're looking at the org and you're navigating and learning about it, you might see things that we're not seeing. And that's the opportunity for your longer term contributions if you do want to stick around in the project, right? Like, are you seeing something that for you personally with JSON schema seems annoying? And that could be either, for example, the website, or it could be on a tool that you wish it existed, or whatever, right? You just go fix your own problem, right? And if other people think the same, then that will gain traction. And that's how a lot of the things came to the.
I had gone through the specification, and like I was pretty vocal about my problems with the specification, and I wrote them in my blog post, but like I don't think I can, like, how could I help change, like how could I help improve these things? Like, I don't know, like, who do I talk to, or what do I do?
Yeah, for the specification specifically, I think it's not a good time right now, because we're trying to finish getting
V1.
the V1 release out, and we've specifically set aside working on like improvements to like structure, and even just like even just wording, like things that make the spec easier to consume, stuff that Lisa was focusing on. And just because we want to get the technical stuff out first. And so I would say until that technical stuff is out, then we can start working on the kind of stuff that you're having issues with.
No, like I don't like. There's no rush to me. Like no, like I've already understood everything. So like I don't care if it's today, tomorrow, or next year, a decade from now. Like it's all the same to me, you know.
Yeah. What might be a good idea is to create an issue in the spec repo, just with some of your ideas of how things could be better, and then we're not going to get to it right away. It'll probably be several months, but eventually, that way we'll remember to ping you when we get to that sort of thing, and you can help with that.
Should I wait? Should I wait until V1 is out, or should I just write it right now? Because from what I understand, some of the issues that I've stated, you already said that you plan on fixing in V1. So
True. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I would create your issues now, but I mean that the V1 specification is already, is available. Like you can read it, and so. And there isn't a lot more that's going to change, but there's some, and so you can. I mean, I would say go read through the current spec, and if your issue still applies, then go ahead and create an issue now. And if it's if it's not applies, that doesn't apply anymore, then yeah, that's fine.
okay. V1, I can find it in the spec repo, right? Specification. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and keep in mind it'll probably be a discussion, right? It'll be a big discussion before anything ever gets done.
Sounds reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Thank you.
spec-related stuff, right? I think by nature it's meant to be a lot of thinking more than rapid pace, right? And that's intentional. That's what you want, which might be different from other projects, again, within the same ecosystem, which, yeah, I mean, the spec is a very specific thing, right? I guess as Jason said.
Yeah,
So
of course. Okay. Thank you all.
I think I got a pivot. Basically, I'm not on JSON spec, but 2 days before, I basically opened an issue where a person named Grex Dennis, we were discussing about the same thing actually Jason mentioned earlier, like the how do we measure when how can we actually include something into spec from experimentation. So it was a lot of days ago, and I researched for almost 1 day, seeing some arcs like ECMAScript and IETF model. And today I actually wrote a comment, what are the metrics that I feel that they are good. But again, getting an insight that, okay, community is not actually, might not respond. So again, I need to pivot and go other way to find some solutions. That was actually insightful. I did not actually think in that way.
Yeah, that discussion, that research is really appreciated. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, and getting more people's opinions and thoughts on how these things are happening is really important to us, and we've struggled to get people to share their opinions and help with the research. So thank you.
Now we can go to an LLM and ask it to generate opinions, right?
Yeah.
Opinions for free as a service.
I'm more interested in people's opinions.
Right. Well, that makes it tricky then. Never mind.
All right. I think we're at the end of our time.
I mean, one question, by the way, in case you know, Jason, before, because given GSOC, like, what's a recap on the timelines? Is it all still now on the proposal phase? Do you even know the dates? Maybe you don't. Maybe I can go look elsewhere, but yeah.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I believe if I remember correctly, the proposal submission is starting maybe even today, but very
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it is from 16 to 31.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. But you know more than us. There you go.
Will you guys
Sounds
be
exciting.
will you guys be giving reviews for the proposals, or are you too busy for that, or what?
In the past, I have. I've given, everybody gets one round of review. But this time I'm so busy that I'm probably not going to get to that.
Yeah,
Just-
leaving it to
Well.
the AI, we can take its insights.
yeah.
Good
Yes.
luck with.
But even though, I mean, I guess like pre-reviewing the proposals, I think it takes time. But if you do have like direct questions, I think that's usually easier, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But again, I think, we usually don't have the answers anyway. I think for a lot of things, that like just think again, like what we said before, right? Like how can you prove that you are the best fit for this among the others, right?
Mm.
So that then you explore it together with a mentor.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the answer.
Yeah. But I know it's also hard to ask specific questions when you don't even know what questions you need to be asking. So, but yeah. Yeah. I think the advice that Juan gave is probably the best you can go off of for now.
Thank you all for this wonderful call, and good luck with all of the things that you have.
Thanks.
Cool. Yeah. All the best. And let's see you in Slack or somewhere else. All the best,
Yeah.
guys. Bye bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.